This is California Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance, and we are joined today by Mario Guerra. He is a nominee for the California State Senate in a Southern California district. He is currently the mayor of the city of Downey. And sir, I want to speak with you about your district. I think it's fair to say your district has had some tough times before it over the last few years. The current state senator, it's a new district, but essentially half the district is represented by Mr. Calderon. Ron Calderon, who is under indictment. He has not served for quite some time. What has that done for the constituents of the district?
I think people in our district, and well, I think people in our state are tired of the corruption. I think ethics and character and values are a big issue in our district. And you know, it's sad when the state of California, the Senate, has a higher percentage record than the state of California.
It is interesting that we have 3 members of the California State Senate that have been under indictment this year. One has been convicted and is going to jail. The other 2 pending. And what's also interesting, if I may say, is the 3 cases are not connected. These are 3 separate cases of misdeeds.
Right. And you recently had another senator arrested for drunk driving.
And
so forth.
Yes, that's true.
So,
misdemeanor, but true.
I think that's a big issue. And I think that's where we contrast my opponent and I as far as the vision for the state. And you know, I help bring character counts. This is Character Counts Week in our community. And I serve on the National Institute of Josephson Institute of Ethics.
I know him and
my
his wife. I know them both.
Yeah.
I live in that area.
Great people.
I know his 4 daughters. I
Yeah.
know the whole gang.
So,
Jack, Jim.
Well, so I serve on that national board, and I brought locally to our school district and to our city character counts, trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship.
So let's talk about character, and let's talk about kind of the whole notion of being a public steward, a public servant. You know, each case is different in terms of the 3 indictments, but I want to zero in on Leland Yee. He's the senator from San Francisco. And what's most interesting about his case is that he has been charged with gun running, and a lot of it was in connection with his desire to raise funds for his run, his various elections. I am not excusing his actions, presuming that the indictment is accurate. But it does beg the question about the pressures of fundraising. He was not aggrandizing himself like arguably Mr. Calderon was. It was a different situation. So talk to me about that, the fundraising pressures.
You know what, it's you don't need to have the most money. You need to have enough money to get your message out. And I think that some people become stewards of the finances. And when you're worried so much about election or re-election on there, you lose concept of what you're trying to do and who you're working for.
But here's the challenge. I think it's fair to say that you have kind of risen to the top of the target list because there is money being spent on your behalf. I know that it is independent of you, but money counts.
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, I've worked very hard from the very beginning of the race on there. I've outraised our opponent every step of the way. He brought a lot of money from Sacramento and special interest from an old failed race that he had. But we worked really hard on raising money, and our money is locally. People want to give to us on there because they believe in our vision and who we are. So, but you don't need to be the stewards of the funds on there. You don't need to be corrupt on there to do a good job and asking people to help get your message out. And politicians lose sight of that. And by the way, I am now a politician. I am proud of that word. You can be a good politician, do it honestly, ethically, do it with character and values, really, but serve the people on there. It doesn't have to be a bad word.
It's so interesting you say that. I have said this before. The term professional politician has become a dirty word. To me, I could easily argue I want professional politicians because they're experts. You know, just like I want a professional doctor and a professional dentist and a professional lawyer. And so the fact that you've been in office in Downey for 8 years, one could argue that's a good thing, no?
Well, you also need to make sure, see what the record is. And if you've been in office before and you didn't do anything or didn't even bother to voting on there, there's a big distinction on there. I've actually created 8,000 jobs in the last 4 years, right in the middle of the recession on there. We brought in businesses on there. We brought in a business that created 3,500 jobs. We had another one that had 500 new employees. We reached out to them. And as mayor, I made sure that our process in attracting businesses is something that I want to do to the state of California. So I've actually signed the front of a check. I know what it is to be a businessman.
Let's talk about job creation, business creation. I think it's fair to say that California gets a bad rap when it comes to business friendliness. But if you really kind of dig deep, it seems as if while our tax structure is frustrating, it really is in the middle of the pack when it comes to tax burden. Regulation, it's hard to deny that we are overregulated in the state. And so presuming victory, you go to the California State Senate. What do you do to try to ease that regulatory pressure?
First of all, the one thing that's real important for us to remember, and I'm not going to be a politician, I'm going to actually answer your question on there. But we have the highest car tax in the country. We have the highest sales tax in the country in the state of California. Have the highest business tax in the country.
The thing about taxes is we have a lot of credits.
Okay,
a lot of credits.
But no, we're still high ranking on 5 different taxes. The number 1 in the state of California. Yeah, we're 47th in educational spending. One that's real important, we're 48th in job creation. The state of California is not completely back on there because we are not attractive to other businesses. By the way, the state of California, we just passed up Mississippi. We're also now number 1 in poverty. So that's not a record that I want. But attracting businesses, you know, when you had companies that went, like for example, Toyota, okay, Toyota moves out of the state on there, and the answer was, oh, they're going to be closer to their manufacturing plant in Texas. Okay?
That's what they said.
That's what they said. Well, the question is, why are they manufacturing cars in Texas instead of California?
Regulatory environment,
so absolutely, absolutely. And even Governor Brown just recently said how frustrated he's been with CEQA and so many other ones on there. Because if we're making an exception for the Sacramento Kings to build a stadium downtown in Sacramento, why can't we do it for the mom and pop manufacturing? Why can't we do it for everybody? Let's bring people back to stay.
You mentioned Toyota. I want to ask you about Tesla. So as you know, we are fighting hard to get the Tesla battery factory.
You know the story about Downey and Tesla. We were left at the altar on there.
I do, and that's why I asked you about it. But when we know that Nevada was able to snatch that from California, but a lot of editorial boards, a lot of economists have said that literally Nevada gave away, you know, the kitchen sink on this one. And so I want to get a sense from you, having been left at the altar by Tesla, how do we create an environment whereby we're not giving away the kitchen sink, but we're still being attractive enough so that we can defeat our sister states?
Sure. The people that have done that say that on there haven't run a business, or they don't know what it takes to run a business. And you know what? To create jobs, you have to make incentives. I'm not criticizing the Tesla deal dollar for dollar. I can tell you that the infrastructure they're going to be building there in the state of Nevada, I could tell you the jobs that are going to be created and the jobs that come down from the ripple effect are going to be so important to that state in the future.
But yet they say that with regard to Tesla specifically, you know, and look, I'd love to have Tesla in our state in a bigger way, but the incentives were so large that the state won't benefit at least the state treasury.
I disagree with that to a point, and again, I don't want to go to the minutiae of the deal, but I agree that that's just an example of what we should be more aggressive in going after business on there, and we might lose certain deals. But you know what? For the restaurant down the street, okay. Do you know that restaurant down the street reports to 12 different state agencies?
Yes, I do.
That's part of the problem.
I do, right.
So for me as an investor, if I was coming and looking at the state on there, I want to find a state that, number 1, welcomes me, number 2, makes it easy for me to build my plant.
So here's the question. You said Governor Brown, a Democrat, has come out in favor of CEQA reform. You, if victorious, would be a Republican in the California State Senate. Okay, so you're in agreement. What are we waiting for?
That's part of the issue.
What are we waiting for?
I think sometimes you get gridlock in state politics or because of party lines. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're an independent. I want to get things done. I've done that locally. I've done it regionally as president of Independent Cities, working with 50 cities and 7 million people. I have a track record of actually creating jobs and working across party aisles. That's what we need, and that's kind of what I'm looking forward to doing.
Have you had fun?
I've enjoyed the results. I've enjoyed meeting people. I've enjoyed when you get accomplishments on there and you actually do something. It does feel really good on there. So
his name is Mario Guerra. He is the mayor of Downey. He is a nominee for the California State Senate. The election, of course, Tuesday, November 4th. Don't forget to vote. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's California Edition.